So given these functions here, we need to find f plus k of x. So that I'm looking at number a here, and that's f plus k of x. So what this notation tells me here, now this parenthesis x parenthesis doesn't mean I'm timesing it by x. That's not what it means. So be careful. This really means f of x plus k of x. Just like I have this parenthesis x parenthesis here when I'm talking about functions, this serves that same purpose here. So just keep that in mind. And my f is going to be the square root of x plus 1. And then I have a plus here. And all I'm doing is just subbing in. F of x is this thing here, this square root of x plus 1. So I put that in there. And then my k of x is just this here, 1 over x. So I'm just going to put 1 over x there. And actually, this is my answer. Because I can't really add those together, at least not the way they sit. So that's our answer for this one. That's simple. But I have to understand that this notation all together tells me I'm adding f plus my k function. I'm adding f of my k function. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one now. So for this next one, this is going to equal g minus h of x. So this means I'm going to have g of x minus h of x. And what I'm going to do with these is the same thing. So my g is 4x over 3x minus 2. So I'm going to write that in there. So 4x over 3x minus 2. And then I have minus here, and then I have my h of x, which is 2x squared minus 2. And I'm just going to sub that in there. But I have to use a parenthesis here because I have more than one term. So be careful with that. If you're concerned about that, you can always use parentheses all the time if you don't want to think about it. Okay, so then this is actually going to be 4x over 3x minus 2 minus 2x squared plus 2. That's why you have to use the parentheses, because when I distribute that negative to the second one, a negative times a negative is positive, and that's why I get plus 2 here. So this would be the answer, and if you did that on the homework, they would definitely mark it wrong if you missed your sign there. All right, so that's our answer for the second one, so B. So now let's try C here. So for C, again, this notation here tells me I'm dividing. So this is going to be k of x over f of x. Now again, just keep in mind that is not a multiplication of x there. That's just my function notation, just like I have k of parenthesis x parenthesis. Okay, so anyway, so my kx is this one here. So I'm just going to put that one on top here. So I'm going to have 1 over x here. And then on the bottom, we're going to have f, which is square root of x plus 1. So now I have to do something here because I have a complex fraction. So this has to be removed. Not removed, but simplified. So now the way I look at these is I have this divided by, that's my divide symbol there, the bottom, which is square root of x plus 1. So that's really what I'm dealing with here. Okay, so what does that mean? I can think of that, the square root of x plus 1 over 1, and then I flip and multiply. So this would be 1 over x times 1 over square root of x plus 1. Now, I will probably have to do this in the homework. And this is going to result in x square root of x plus 1. And that's as far as you need to go with this. But that is the answer for this one. Now, make sure you show some work for this when you're actually doing these on a test or on a quiz. It's important that you write those out just to show that you know what's going on. because we don't have class time to go through all of these and see what you really know. So you want to make sure you write everything in there. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. This is a times here. See a little times there? So I'm going to times those or multiply them. So that's going to be g of x times k of x. That's really what that means. Okay, so my g is 4x over 3x minus 2 times, and then my kx is going to be 1 over x. Now for this one to simplify, this actually simplifies pretty nice. Because this is a times here on top, 4 times x, and that's all that's up there. I really have one term on top. I can cancel because I have one term on the bottom as well here. So those will cross off. They'll reduce to 1 over 1, which is 1. And I get 4 times 1. And remember, when I multiply, I didn't say this on the other one, but when I multiply fractions, I multiply straight across. And these aren't really fractions, they're rational expressions, but the same structure. So that's going to be 4 over, and that's going to leave a 1 in its place here. And that leaves a 1. So it's going to be 4 over 3x minus 2. So that's going to be the answer for this one. Okay, now, if you look below here, now we're getting into function values. So for this one, g minus h negative 2. So this looks very weird, and what this is really saying here is the function g minus h, I'm going to plug in negative 2 for x. So if you notice, that's number b here. That's my g minus h of x. So what I have to do here is I just have to take the function, and we see that function over here, and that function, I just plug in negative 2 for it, for x. So that's going to be 4, and then I ran into a negative 2 over 3, and then I ran into a negative 2, an x, minus 2. Then I have a minus here, and this is going to be 2. I ran into an x, so I'm going to put my negative 2 in there, squared plus 2. Now, if you notice, this here is the same thing as this one here, because I found that earlier. And all I did was for every x, I plugged in a negative 2. And that's what that notation tells me. All right, so now all I'm going to do is do the arithmetic here. So on the top, I'm going to get a negative 8. On the bottom, that's going to be negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. This is going to be minus 2, and then I have to do the exponent here. So that's going to be a 4, because negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 8 over negative 8 is 1. So 1 minus 8, because 2 times 4 is 8. And then that's going to be negative 7. So I actually get a value for this one. All the other ones were functions because they were plugging in, they didn't plug in anything for x. So when I start plugging in values, I should get single numbers for this. Okay, so now let's take a look at the next one down here. So f plus k of 3. That's how I say that as well. So that was the first one we did, f plus k of x. Now all I have to do is I just have to take this one then, because that's what it equals, and plug in 3 for every x. So that means I'm going to plug it in there and plug it in there. Okay, so that's all I have to do here. So I have the square root of 3 plus 1 and plus 1 over 3. So this equals square root of 4 plus 1/3. And the square root of 4 is 2. So 2 plus 1/3. If you want to be lazy about it, you can say 2 and 1/3. If you like mixed improper fractions, you could say 7/3. And either answer is sufficient as long as it's reduced. So I'll put a big or here. So there's the answer for that one. So that's these questions here.